Good afternoon. It's Monday, September 12th. I'm Aryeh O'Sullivan, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan are scheduled to meet for the first time next week on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. Citing diplomatic sources, a Channel One report last night said the meeting had been arranged through secret diplomatic channels and was made possible after the reconciliation agreement to restore ties was signed between the two countries and ratified by the Turkish parliament last month. However, today, a source in the Prime Minister's office denied that such a meeting was imminent. Netanyahu will travel to New York on September 20th and will speak before the General Assembly on September 22nd before returning to Israel 3 days later. His office has not yet released a list of the leaders Netanyahu plans to meet on the sidelines of the UN debate. Unconfirmed reports claim that Netanyahu hopes to meet with U.S. President Barack Obama. However, as of yet, no such meeting has been scheduled. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has accused the Israeli government of carrying out ethnic cleansing and deliberately killing Palestinians. The Palestinian leader's harsh words were in response to Prime Minister Netanyahu's online video released over the weekend, where he claimed that those who oppose the presence of Jews in the West Bank support ethnic cleansing. Abbas claimed Israel's activities in the West Bank have subjected it to international criticism, adding it was the Jewish state that is isolated, not the Palestinian people, despite Israel's efforts to portray it otherwise. Abbas asserted that Israel's actions prove it is not interested in continuing in the path of peace. In the online video clip released by Netanyahu, the Prime Minister emphasized that the Palestinian leadership demands a state with one precondition: no Jews. Police today arrested 4 minor right-wing activists, 2 of whom are suspected of involvement in nationalistically motivated hate crimes against Palestinians in recent months. The group was detained during a police raid on a yeshiva in the western Sumerian community of Nachliel. When officers arrived, a number of youths attempted to flee. 2 teenagers attacked the officers and were later arrested. One of the minors detained injuries during the incident. Sources at the yeshiva claimed the officers used excessive force during the operation, saying one of the undercover officers hit the suspects in the head with a rock and prevented a local medic from treating the injured boy. Meanwhile, the largest U.S. military aid package to Israel ever is going to be finalized very soon. This, according to U.S. Ambassador to Israel Dan Shapiro. Speaking at the conference on counterterrorism at the IDC in Herzliya, Shapiro said the package would be in effect until 2029.
The next decade of American military support for Israel is to be spelled out soon in a memorandum of understanding our countries have been discussing in recent months. The new agreement with Israel will guide our military assistance until 2029, National Security Advisor Susan Rice told the American Jewish Committee a few months ago, and it will be the single largest assistance package with any country in American history. And I hope we'll be able to take the final steps to complete this MOU very soon.
Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton has canceled a scheduled 2-day campaign trip to California. This news, released by her campaign officials earlier today, came hours after it was revealed that days before yesterday's 9/11 memorial service, which she left abruptly, she had been diagnosed with pneumonia. Footage showed the 68-year-old Clinton leaving the event, assisted to a waiting van, where she was caught on camera stumbling, requiring the aid of her security guards to help her enter the vehicle. Initial reports claimed the former Secretary of State was taken to hospital, but some 90 minutes later, Clinton's campaign officials announced that she was resting at her daughter Chelsea's apartment. Later, she emerged, waving and smiling to a waiting crowd. News of her ill health spread like wildfire, with the initial media reports saying Clinton had suffered a medical episode which forced her to leave the memorial service. Health officials said she had become dehydrated at the event. In recent weeks, questions concerning Clinton's bill of health have been repeatedly raised over whether she has the stamina to serve as the country's president. Throughout her campaign, she has often been caught on camera suffering from bouts of coughing, which she explained which was caused by allergies. The remand of Netanya Mayor Miriam Fireberg has been extended until Tuesday. Fireberg's attorneys had sought to have the mayor released to house arrest, but police insist that there is still over a dozen investigative actions that need to be taken before her release. Fireberg is suspected of taking millions of shekels in bribes in exchange for advancing a series of real estate projects in her city. Since her arrest last week, she has adamantly denied all charges of wrongdoing. Her lawyers express confidence that the investigation will soon clear her name and prove that she is telling the truth. The remands of 3 other suspects, including Fireberg's son Safrir, attorney Abraham Gogig, and architect Gabi Tetro, were also extended. The mayor's ex-husband, Eli Fireberg, head of the city's Planning and Construction Subcommittee, Rabbi Simon Sher, another contractor whose name has not yet been released, and a developer, Avraham Tshuva, brother of business mogul Yitzhak Tshuva, were given up to 15 days house arrest. The corruption case involves serious allegations of bribery, fraud, money laundering, and tax offenses. The family of Avera Mengistu, the Israeli civilian of Ethiopian descent who is believed to have been being held captive by Hamas, protested last night outside the Prime Minister's residence in Jerusalem, demanding his release. Much to the family's chagrin, a smaller than expected number of demonstrators gathered to mark 2 years since Arava crossed into Gaza. In his address to the crowd, Mengistu's brother Ilan urged the government to step up efforts to secure his brother's release and stressed that not enough is being done. The family has repeatedly claimed that the government's inaction is partly due to the color of his skin. In an overnight raid in the village of Wadi Farah in Samaria, soldiers together with border police and Shin Bet agents confiscated 100 kilos of raw material used to compile explosives and 1.5 liters of inflammable liquid. Elsewhere in the village of Beit Awa in the Hebron area, security forces searching for weapons uncovered 2 pipe bombs and fire bombs. 2 vessels carrying women members of the group dubbed Flotilla Coalition's Women's Boat to Gaza are due to set sail for Gaza on Wednesday, leaving from Barcelona in Spain. The boats carrying humanitarian aid to Gaza are part of the coalition's attempt to spotlight the plight of Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip and what they described as Israel's illegal land, sea, and air blockade on Gaza. The boats are named Amal, which means hope and symbolizes the aid being brought to Gaza, and Zaituna Oliva, in memory of the Italian peace activist and journalist Vittoria Arrigoni, who sailed with the Palestinian fishing boats off the Gaza coast and was later murdered by Palestinian factions there in 2011. In recent years, Israel has intercepted flotillas attempting to reach Gaza, rerouting them to the port of Ashdod, where goods are unloaded and carried overland to the Gaza Strip. Hundreds of Muslims gathered this morning at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem to attend prayers on the first day of the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha, also known as the Feast of the Sacrifice. In Ramallah, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas took part in early morning prayers and later laid a wreath at the grave of former Palestinian President Yasser Arafat. Speaking to reporters after the prayers, Abbas reiterated his wish that this year will bring an end to the Palestinian struggle for independence and enable the establishment of an independent state along the 1967 borders with Jerusalem as its capital. Earlier, Prime Minister Netanyahu extended greetings to the Muslim and Druze citizens. Netanyahu issued a statement saying that people of Eid al-Adha cherish similar values that the Jewish faith also sanctifies. A U.S.-Russian brokered ceasefire in Syria is expected to go into effect in a short time from now. IBA's Margaret Dudkevich outlines how it's planned to go into effect.
Hopes are high that when the sun sets over Syria this evening, fighting will finally come to a halt in the war-torn country, bringing an end to the bloodshed and years of conflict. If all goes according to plan, a full lull in the violence is expected to be maintained over the next 48 hours. The ceasefire brokered by the US and Russia over the weekend that received Syrian President Bashar Assad's approval will also see the entry of humanitarian relief to the country's residents, who have endured more than 5 years of strife. It is unclear whether the warring rebel factions in the country will abide by the truce. In a letter to the US administration, officials from the Free Syrian Army said they will cooperate with the ceasefire, but expressed concerns that the move will only serve to strengthen the Assad regime. According to the deal, a 10-day truce is to be followed by a coordinated US-Russian airstrike against jihadi groups. The US-Russian brokered deal calls on Syrian government forces to halt all missions, including the targeting of opposition-held areas.
I want to emphasize, these measures can only be implemented effectively if all the parties live up to their obligations. If groups within the legitimate opposition want to retain their legitimacy, they need to distance themselves in every way possible from Nusra and Daesh. And we expect that Russia will ensure that the Syrian government will adhere to all of its requirements about its air activities and about the access for humanitarian deliveries.
Today, Syrian civilians were still reeling from the regime's airstrikes yesterday on rebel-held areas in Aleppo, killing dozens, including women and children. In many areas, government troops and rebel factions sought to strengthen their positions before the ceasefire takes hold. At a mosque in a Damascus suburb, President Assad kneeled down in prayer, marking the occasion of Eid al-Adha. Elsewhere in the country, citizens said they were unable to afford to carry out the traditional sacrifice of livestock this year, and others said they had no money to purchase the most basic food for the holiday. Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
And as we managed to report just briefly before closing yesterday, Paralympic rower Moran Samuel won Israel's first medal at the Paralympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. Moran took home the bronze after finishing third place in the women's 1,000-meter single rowing competition. The 34-year-old world champion, who won a gold last year at the World Cup event in Italy, only took up rowing 6 years ago. Before that, she was a member of Israel's national basketball team, where she played until 2006, when she suffered a spinal stroke that completely paralyzed her lower body. Shortly after that, on the podium yesterday, Samuel received a personal phone call from Prime Minister Netanyahu, who congratulated her on the win, expressing his pride and excitement. The show must go on. Final preparations are well underway for tonight's highly anticipated Queen rock concert set to hit the stage at Tel Aviv's Park Yarkon. Although without its legendary frontman Freddie Mercury, who passed away in 1991, the band is gearing up for its first performance in the Holy Land, featuring former American Idol Adam Lambert, who is lead singer. Lambert and the group's only two original members, guitarist Brian May and drummer Roger Taylor, arrived in the country Sunday afternoon. Since the death of the iconic Mercury, Queen had performed sporadically, here and there. They joined forces once again after accompanying Lambert, who was runner-up on the reality show American Idol, and decided to take the show on the road. The group pledged to give the estimated 50,000 local fans that will gather tonight a show they will remember. Hope to see that. Sticking with arts and entertainment, and for those of you looking to experience some of the normally pricey entertainment events out there, but at an affordable price for every pockets, you'll be happy to hear that the Days of Culture initiative kicks off this week across the country. Now in its fourth consecutive year, the series offers some 450 cultural events nationwide, all for a maximum price of 20 shekels a ticket. From music, concerts, dance performances, theater productions, poetry readings to children's plays, anyone can indulge with some of the country's top talents and high-level entertainment. The week-long Days of Culture program is sponsored by Mifal HaPayis, Israel's national lottery, and the Ministry of Culture and Sports. It will begin this Wednesday, running from the 14th to the 21st of September. Check your local listings or the Mifal HaPayis website for detailed programs. In financial news, there was a mixed trading on the Tel Aviv stock market, while the shekel was also mixed in trading against major foreign currencies. Here are the late afternoon numbers. Turning to the weather, and the forecast calls for partly cloudy skies with a slight dip in temperatures, which will remain pleasant for this time of the year. Here are the expected highs and lows at home and abroad for the next 24 hours. That's all for today. Please join us again tomorrow when Laura Cornfield will be at this desk to bring you the latest breaking news from Israel. Till then, I'm Aryeh O'Sullivan wishing you a good evening and shalom from Jerusalem.